Welcome to the KACE SimpleHelp webinar titled Remote Work Made Easy, hosted by Quest and NetX. My name is Chrystal Lewis. I am an account executive with NetX, a Quest preferred partner, and I'm really thrilled to see all of you here today. I'm also thrilled to give away a $50 Amazon gift card at the conclusion of this webinar. I'm not sure about you, but sheltering in place and being inside has made a professional online shopper out of me. So we're going to assist you if you're having that same problem by giving away that gift card. So please be sure to attend the webinar in its entirety to be eligible to win. Also, please make sure that your screen name displayed is the same as the name you used to register, as this is how we will identify today's winner. Now, just a reminder, this webinar is for everyone, for non-KACE customers, previous KACE customers, new and existing KACE customers. We discuss several aspects of KACE and SimpleHelp features that will bring value to everyone here. Today, we're going to hear from Zena Goshu, the Channel Account Manager at Quest and my partner in the coordination of this webinar. We're also going to hear from Richy Anderson, Senior Sales Engineer at Quest, and also the VP of Technical Operations at NetX, Antwune Gray, to discuss SimpleHelp. We have already provided our contact information to you all individually, but we're going to drop it in the chat function as well. So please feel free to reach out to us directly with any questions. You can also use that chat function to submit any questions you may have throughout the duration of the webinar. So let's jump in with an introduction of NetX. NetX was established in 1997 and has since remained a leader in customer service and an innovator in approaching the challenges IT departments are faced with today. As an engineering firm with some of the best system engineers in the business, NetX is uniquely positioned to help organizations implement cost-effective solutions to achieve efficiency and peace of mind in managing their information, data centers, and endpoints. As a Veritas and Pure Storage partner, NetX specializes in data protection, high availability, archiving, and e-discovery solutions. We're also an authorized training partner for vendors such as Veritas and others. We offer live instructor-led training, and we never cancel. That's important to note. Our classes are guaranteed to run, and our instructors are also engineers that deliver real-world experience into the classroom, which is great. NetX is a technical partner and preferred vendor of Quest, as NetX is the exclusive distributor of SimpleHelp, which some of you will learn more about today, a remote desktop protocol application including remote monitoring, remote access, and support. Our Quest partnership provides KACE customers an exclusive promotion. That's the good part. Includes a 6-month free trial of SimpleHelp. So I'd say that's an excellent incentive to become a KACE customer. Let's hear more about KACE. I'll hand it over to you now, Zena.
All right, thank you, Chrystal. I appreciate it. Thank you for the intro. Hi, everyone. With the recent transition towards a digital workplace, IT admins and users all over the US have been experiencing an array of challenges and concerns. And it's not necessarily that we are seeing a lot of new challenges, it's more so that, the same old problems have been compounded, right? And obviously with the sudden and unexpected nature of these changes, combined with the financial burden they've caused, doing more with less has become more important than ever. I myself personally spend part of my time speaking to current and potential clients about their circumstances, and I've probably heard it all, honestly. Everything from frozen budgets to remote management and endpoint security issues, as well as pure lack of manpower due to layoffs, furloughs, things of that nature. Simply said, a lot of folks are simply being forced to wear multiple hats, or they're having to do a lot with a little. So there's clearly a need for comprehensive yet simple solutions that can offer flexibility, and that's exactly where KACE fits in. Our unified endpoint management and security portfolio offers ease of use through automation, as well as that flexibility that I mentioned through integration on the back end. So our goal here today is to demonstrate how you can leverage our solutions to best address some of these current challenges, to ultimately regain control or maintain control of your systems. With that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to our engineer, Richy, so he can talk to you about our products.
Good afternoon. Hope you can hear me. I, want to say KACE / Quest, our unified endpoint management with NetX is, what, peanut butter and chocolate. When they first came together and they give you the Reese's cup, which, they're both good, but we're even better together. I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop just so you can see some of our unified endpoint management information. All right, I'm sharing that. And let me know, Chrystal, do you guys see that on your side?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So as we talk about unified endpoint management and helping these work from home people, upper left-hand side, the systems management appliance, gives you great access and information into devices that you need to manage. Are they patched? Are they up to date? Are the proper versions of software installed? Do I need to have help desk tickets? Can I remote control in and fix problems if I need to? One of the big ones that I like to cover is patching, right? Patching is a great thing. The fact that vendors actually publish patches, that it fixes is great information. But it can also be used against us, right? Because now the bad guys or the hackers know what holes to start to exploit and see what's going on. So, making sure that your systems are patched and up to date is a key component of the KACE systems management appliance. Going down to the bottom left, as we talk about, deployments and the ability to make sure when you get a new fleet of laptops that they're imaged, that they have your software, the way that you like it on those machines, so that when a user fires it up and uses it, they are ready to go. They don't need to do anything additional to that device in order to start using it. Moving to the upper right-hand side, so everything on the left, we're talking about devices and managing those devices. Right-hand side, we're talking about users. So upper right-hand side, granular GPO. And what that means, group policy is a great tool. A lot of the customers that we talk to on a day-to-day basis, they've inherited the GPOs that the company uses. So they have them. When there's a problem, it's very difficult and cumbersome to try to figure out, which GPO is causing that. We give you quick and easy access into being able to manage those and make sure that your users have access to what they're supposed to and when they're supposed to. Going down to the bottom right with privilege management. A lot of our customers give users admin rights because it solves problems. It allows a user to install their printer driver or an application that they may need, especially while they're working at home. With Privilege Manager, what you can do is take away those admin rights and allow the users to still work and do their day-to-day work without them really knowing. But when they go and try to install something that they shouldn't, let's just say a torrent application, because during these COVID times, we're all looking for more entertainment and things we can do. If they get a torrent to try to go get some movies or music, those are things that you can stop. Those are bad things. If someone puts it on their computer, it starts to put your network at risk, and that's what we want to solve by that. And then right smack dab in the middle of this circle is our mobile device management. So more and more devices are coming in, right? People come with their Android or their iOS device or their MacBook, and they want to make sure that they can have access to the resources that they need. With mobile device management, we're bringing in those iPhones or those Android and allowing you to manage and say, yes, you can get your corporate email on this. And if you lose the phone or you decide to go to a different job, guess what? We can take away everything that we put on that device, without affecting your personal pictures or things. So again, if it's a personal device, great. We want to be able to help you, use it for the corporate means. But when you're done with it, we want to be able to take that stuff off. If it's a company-owned device, you're going to have more capabilities. You're going to be able to do factory resets on it and things that allow you to just get it back to kind of that good known state. But again, avoiding those personal devices. If you were to delete someone's pictures that they've had on there for a year or two or longer, it just causes a little bit of grief to the end user and probably to your IT team as they try to solve and maybe figure out how they can help that user. And those are the different products that we have. You can kind of see that the management appliance, the deployment appliance. Desktop Authority, and then Privilege Manager. The two on the right are generally sold as a suite, just because it makes sense when you're doing user management to start to take away some of those admin rights that they have. We are going to elevate processes of applications versus, elevating a user in order to accomplish the task that they need. A quick view into the Case Systems Management Appliance. This is kind of our flagship product. It is an appliance, and what that means is it's going to sit on, your ESXi server or a Hyper-V server in your environment. We do have a cloud option, or it is also in the Azure Marketplace. So you can consume the appliance in a lot of different ways. You don't have to, there's nothing physical that goes in your environment. This is agent-based, so each of those machines that we want to be able to patch or update or take control of, does need the agent on it in order to be able to do that. This dashboard is configurable, right? Most organizations are going to have more than one IT guy, right? So you want to make sure that you're giving, your team the right tools to do what they need. Everything on the left-hand side, the different modules, are part of the Case appliance. There's no need to come back and buy different components and elements of this. When I click on devices, this is going to show me a list of what's out in my network. All right, so we have agents that will run on Mac, Windows, and Linux. And, along with that, we're also going to pull in everything from that mobile device manager that I talked about, can be controlled here as well. As I scroll through this list, with these things that have dots in it under the status, that just means that a Case agent is installed on that device. Coming down, these that don't have the dots in it, that is for agentless information. So we're just going and collecting information. I can't patch those machines or update them, but I can collect anything. Printers are a good example. We have lots of customers that, keep track of their printers. And along with that, you can see toner levels and other things that are going on with the machines, so you can make sure and, have the right toner at the right time versus being out without the printer for a day or two or paying for overnight shipping on toners. As I come down a little bit, you can see more devices. Here, I just wanted to click on a machine, types of information that we're collecting. You name it, we probably are collecting it. The make, the model, the chassis type, the IP address, MAC address. Next to IP address here, I have the little play button. When I click on play, that's where I would launch my SimpleHelp, so that I could go in and actually remote control that machine. So again, no need to go out of the Case appliance. We're going to launch that session right from within Case. As we come down, lots of information that you're going to see about the machine. When I click on hardware, you'll get more detailed information about the device. So again, information is king. As an IT worker, right, there's a lot of different devices out there. There's a lot going on. So the more information you have, the better prepared you can be for, a request, that comes in that is needed. You can see all software, all programs that are installed, right? So making sure that you have the right software installed and that people are using it, right? So we do software metering, so you can understand that not only does that user have Adobe Creative Cloud installed, but they're using it. It's expensive, so if someone's not using it, why would we choose to pay the fee to have them use it? But let's get rid of that. Also, you can show changes, right? So anything that has changed. Typically, as a help desk person, someone calls me and, I will ask them, well, what's changed? What have you done differently to the machine? And generally their answer is nothing. There has never been a user ever that has said, oh, here's what I did, and they actually know, because things happen. They click OK or yes, and it launches something. So by showing changes, you can quickly see the things that are relevant to you. Coming down, Case has a service desk with it as well, so you could see service desk tickets that are opened up against the machine. Being able to patch it, update it, it is very key. So I do want to look at a software catalog, right? So again, talking about software and what's installed and making sure that you have the right things there. As we look at the software catalog, this takes things like Word and Excel and Outlook, and rather than treating them as individual components, it treats it as a suite of products. And you can see that here with the Microsoft Office 2016. When I click on that, you can see I have got two copies installed, right? So when that agent is installed, the first thing it does is it takes an inventory of everything on that machine and reports back to the KACE appliance. This number of licenses, 20, you need to tell KACE how many you own. But once you tell us, we can now start tracking that and letting you know when you're close to the number or over, so that you can rectify the problem before you ever go to an audit. If you want to meter the software, meaning are my users using it or not, you do need to enable it by checking that box. You can see the different programs that make up this suite of products. And you can see I've got two different versions of Office 2016 installed. If I buy more licenses throughout the year, I can come in and modify my current one, or you can add a new one because it's probably going to be a different PO. So again, lots of information that you can associate here. So asset management, making sure that those work from home users have the right devices and the right things, and that they're properly patched and up to date. Next, I'm going to just come to security. As we talk about security in KACE, we are talking about patching. So the ability for you to not only do your Windows patches, but third-party patches. If I want to do Java, I can create a label, and a label for us is just a grouping system, right? So you're able to quickly and easily, I'm going to click here on name, and I'm just going to do contains, and I'm going to do Java. Right, and what that's going to do is give me all patches that have Java in the name for the last 6 months, and you can see it's 9. And maybe I'm only concerned about critical patches, so I could come in here and I could choose severity, not size, but severity is critical. So, what I want to show, let's get rid of that. I thought I had that. So what you see here, though, is just the ability for you to really focus in. Oh, I didn't. They're all moderate. Okay, moderate and important, right? So if all I want to do is critical patches, I wouldn't have any that I need to do. So you can get very focused on the things that you want to patch and update, because every environment is different. You may have some machines that can't update Java due to an application that they're using. Great, we can help there. In this new world that we live in, with Windows 10 feature updates, going from 1903 to 1909 or to 2004 now, in the past has been very, very difficult. It's just hard to do, to make sure that your people are at the right at the right release that you want for your environment. We now have, the ability for you to subscribe to the different, updates that you want. There you see 1903, 1909, or 2004. So you can then push those out to your users as needed, right? I'm assuming that each of you would do some testing and some validation in your own environment, making sure that those are the things you want to do. But we have a way to help you automate that process, right? Which is going to take some, difficult tasks that you may have to do and automate them so that you're going to free up and have a little more time to do the things that you need to do. The KACE appliance does a lot more. As you can see, it does have the service desk. It has a full asset management. You can use the camera on your phone as a scanner for barcodes to look up assets, if you're doing a physical inventory. We also have a deployment appliance, right? And with that deployment appliance, the ability for you to have re-image a machine or image new machines all over the network. You don't need to sit and attend to them or babysit them. We can automate all of those processes for you as well. I'm going to come back here to this slide, and focusing on desktop authority for a moment, and again, making sure that that your users have access to the things that you want them to have access to. Let's make sure that we're not hindering anybody's work, but let's make sure that they have access to the tools and only the tools that they need. And that's going to be accomplished through the desktop authority and the privilege manager piece. I think as you look at the management appliance, it's going to cover the lion's share of what you need. But again, in our new environment, making sure that your users are able to do what they need to is becoming more and more relevant to each user. When they're all, in the office on the network, it's a little bit easier to control that. So having tools to help automate these processes, has been key for our users. And with that, Chrystal, I will turn it back to you unless there's anything else anybody wants to see quickly.
Sure. If you have any questions to anyone who is attending this webinar right now, please feel free to input those questions into the chat function. We will get ready to turn it over to Antwune Gray to talk about SimpleHelp.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And I really like the peanut butter and chocolate. That's
Oh, yeah. Me too.
absolutely. So I'm going to show my screen here. You should see a introduction to SimpleHelp slide.
Yep, we're all good.
All right, perfect. So welcome everyone. Thank you for your time today. My name is Antwune Gray. I'm VP of Technical Operations at NetX Information Systems. We are the global distributors for the SimpleHelp product. We offer support, demos, tech support, things of that nature as it relates to the SimpleHelp product. Also, it is only through NetX where you are able to obtain the extended free trial, the 6-month free trial that Chrystal mentioned in the beginning. So if you are interested, definitely make sure you reach out to Chrystal Lewis or Zena or any of your Quest sales reps, and they'll get you in the right place. So I'll go ahead now and address the slides. From a SimpleHelp perspective, we basically have 3 pillars, actually 4, but we'll focus on 3 for the moment. The first pillar is remote support. That is an agentless remote control capability. So again, with this whole work from home scenario that we found ourselves forced into, many folks are accessing your internal resources via their home computer, connecting the VPN, launching an RDP session or something of that nature to get to the internal resources, get to their systems internally. But what happens if they can't connect to VPN, right? Generally what I've seen is customers will attempt to system over some meeting software, over collaboration software, but that is just that, it's collaboration software. With our agentless remote support, you have all the tools and features that I'm going to show you within this presentation today, from the ability to take advantage of your toolbox items to the ability to actually look at diagnostics, even transfer files over to that remote system. So let's say, for instance, during a VPN problem, you're having to get a configuration file over to the user, but you don't want to have to depend on them to put the file into the appropriate place. So you can just go ahead and transfer that over into the right place in the back end. Agent-based remote control is the second pillar there. Remote access. Excuse me. Remote access, that is the traditional remote control. An agent is deployed to your systems internally. This agent can be deployed from your KACE SMA or can be deployed from your SimpleHelp server. That then allows you to connect to that system regardless of where it resides. It could be a home user, traveling laptop user, something of that nature. you would be able to connect to and assist those users. And then we have the remote monitoring capabilities. And with the remote monitoring capabilities, we not only have, as you see here, the ability to access the registry, transfer files, manage services, and things of that nature, but you also have the ability to set alerts to let you know when a particular threshold has been breached, or a file doesn't exist, or a service is not running, etc. So we'll actually see a little bit of that, how easy it is to create those. So our features include, and I've gone over many of them in the very first slide, but integrates with KACE via built-in device actions. If you're on SMA version 10 or above, the device action is already built in. You simply install your technician console from your SimpleHelp server onto your technician's workstations, and you would then be able to launch into a remote control session right from within a device action, that little play button that Richy showed within his presentation. The remote control capabilities, remote support, again, agent versus agentless remote control. We also have a new component which is known as remote work. And what remote work actually gives you the ability to do is to give your end users a secure way to connect to their internal workstation, or maybe it's you have a VDI farm. You can have your SimpleHelp agents installed there. You would just simply register a particular machine for remote work. That then allows the end user to receive an email with a link to a serialized console that connects directly to that particular machine, takes advantage of the your Active Directory login information, things of that nature, as well as the multi-factor authentication that we offer as well, anywhere from TOTP to email passcodes, as well as Microsoft Duo if you have a Radius installation. That remote work also comes with a remote printing capability as well. So if let's say, for instance, you're a designer, you have to connect to your system internally, to take advantage of, let's say AutoCAD, and you need to print to one of the big printers. You'd have the ability to do that via the remote printing capabilities. Monitoring and learning, I mentioned as well, and we're going to see an example of that. Auditing capabilities. So all remote control sessions are audited, but we also have the ability to actually record the remote screen, so that we have the ability to prove or disprove a particular action happened or did not happen. You also have the capabilities of actually viewing that recording within the standard web browser. So what that does for us then is I can go ahead and run through the fix for a particular problem, create a knowledge base article for it within the KACE service desk, and actually add the video link. Okay. We also have the ability to deliver software as well as scripts. So let's say, for instance, you have systems that are external that need to have the KACE agent installed. You already have the SimpleHelp agent. You could actually send your KACE agent through SimpleHelp to install onto that remote system. Or you can take advantage of our monitoring and alerting capabilities and set an alert that says, if antivirus is not installed, go ahead and install it. Or if you find a particular instance within the Windows event log, run this particular script. We'll again see some of that. All communications is encrypted by default. However, you do have the ability to add an SSL certificate. So from your internal PKI, maybe you purchased a certificate from DigiCert, or we also have the ability to take advantage of the free Let's Encrypt service. So adding an SSL certificate is very, very simple in that regard. Multi-factor authentication, as I mentioned, you have the ability to also brand the tool. We have screen sharing capabilities, so I can create a presentation, provide a link to a group of users, and they can then see my screen, again, regardless of where they reside over the internet. It does not require an install. It just runs within your web browser. The architecture is very flexible. We have the ability to run on a Windows, Linux, or Mac operating system, not only from a server perspective, but from an agent perspective. And when I mentioned that we have a flexible architecture, you'd have the ability to install your SimpleHelp server in your DMZ and your internal network or in your favorite cloud platform, whether Azure, AWS, etc. As a matter of fact, the system that we're going to be looking at today actually resides in Azure. The VMs reside in our Brooklyn data center, and I'm in Atlanta. There's no VPN connection activated between those three locations. Everything is done completely over the internet. From a remote work perspective, which we're very, very proud of, this particular feature, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. As I sort of alluded to before, we'd simply enable remote work for a particular PC. We register that user's email address to that particular machine. That user would then receive an email with the serialized link to download for their console. That console would then be loaded into their start menu so that once they have completed their work for the day, they need to start up tomorrow, they just go start SimpleHelp remote work, authenticate using their Active Directory username and password, as well as the second factor of authentication that you've put in place, and they are off to the races. The benefits of using the SimpleHelp remote work component is that there's no expensive hardware required. The support staff can actually monitor and assist your remote workforce. So you have that single pane of glass. You know, one of the advantages, one of the many advantages to the KACE product is you have your service desk, you have inventory, you have software delivery, you have that single pane of glass. Well, you have that same single pane of glass from a remote support perspective as well. So if I get a call, I'm at the service desk, and someone is attempting to perform some activity on their work machine from home, I have their work machine within my console. I can click on that particular machine and actually see exactly what they're doing. They're actually at home, I'm at home, but we are we're actually able to see one another mouse and keyboard strikes. And if I needed to hide what I'm doing from that particular end user, I could blink the screen temporarily while I do some secret magic stuff in the background. No VPN is required. All connections are secure, and SimpleHelp has one of the lowest costs on the market today. From an architecture perspective, just a really quick, and I've already alluded to this, you have the ability to install your SimpleHelp server on your DMZ, your internal network, or your favorite cloud provider. The advantage to a SimpleHelp installation internally or DMZ or wherever is that you do not have to turn your firewall into Swiss cheese. All communications, all features function over a single port, whether it be port 80, port 443, or some random port that is available within your network that you want to use for SimpleHelp traffic so that you can then monitor that traffic with another tool. We're very, very flexible in that regard. A couple of real quick ones here. Again, Richy already alluded to this, but from within the account, the device details, you'd have the ability to launch into a remote control session. From the main screen where you see a list of your PCs, you'd also have the ability to launch into a SimpleHelp remote control session. And even from within a KACE service desk ticket, you notice there's this little play button. I'd have the ability to launch into a remote control session as well. And this particular ticket was actually created using the alerting mechanism within SimpleHelp. So basically, monitoring a particular machine or group of machines, once the threshold has been reached, you can have your alert have an action to deliver an email with specific parameters to your KACE service desk that will go ahead and set the device name, plug in the details, provide the title, etc. And you can then work that ticket from within the KACE service desk and launch into a remote control session again without actually leaving KACE, and have advantage of all of the tools such as the diagnostics and things of that nature that I mentioned. So let me just pop into console here. I'll minimize this guy. So what I have open here is the SimpleHelp Technician console. As you can see here, console is very, very clean, so it makes it easy to navigate. And I'll I'll just walk through a couple of items here, and then I will bring up a remote control session that I have admittedly already launched. Okay, so I'll go ahead and highlight this particular machine, this NYBCS01, and we can see here a couple of bits of information, whether this remote session is actually going on. So it shows that there is a connection to that particular machine. I also see that there's an alert on that machine. There's a flag on the play. So we'll investigate to see what what rule this particular machine actually violated here. I have the ability to see a preview window. So if I'm going to connect into that particular machine and I don't require end user consent, I might want to make sure that no one is actually doing anything, or maybe I'm just viewing the process on a server. I just have that up in the background here to see what's going on in that remote system. As I continue down here, our real-time memory and CPU utilization information is brought across. I can see any active remote control sessions to that particular machine. And again, admittedly, I started that quite a bit ago. So you notice that session has been running for about 2 hours. That speaks to the stability of these sessions as well. I can also see who's logged in on the remote system. So if, let's say for instance, I did have an administrator who was logged in via RDP, and I wanted to connect to that particular console session so that I can view what that particular admin is viewing as opposed to connecting to console 0, I could do so. Down below, again, I can see any alerts that this particular machine has triggered, and we'll view these alerts in just a bit. Hardware information, some basic hardware information, as well as some basic process information as well. Now, from a remote control perspective, in order to start a remote control session, I could just, if I'm not within the KACE service desk or within the SMA, I can go ahead and double click on a particular system. I can click the connect button, or I can choose this drop down here and decide which mode I want to connect into, whether it's a view only, whether I want to go directly to diagnostics, whether I just simply need to transfer a file over and not actually disturb the end user. I could do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at an actual remote control session. Okay. So I've remoted into a system that just happens to have an SMA console open. So here I have the ability to go ahead and also start a recording, or if the administrator of SimpleHelp has configured the particular group permissions that I belong to automatically record those sessions. As soon as I launch into this remote control session, the recording would already start and I wouldn't have any control over it. It could also be password protected as well. I have chat capabilities, so the things that one would expect to be a part of a remote control tool are there. I also, though, have this concept of a toolbox. So you'll notice here, I have quite a few different items here. I have the, some of my super duper scripts. Maybe I've connected to this particular machine. I was like, oh yeah, it just needs Windows updates to run. So I could go ahead and run a Windows updates in a one-off type scenario. But obviously, from an enterprise management perspective, I would go through the SMA to do that. Maybe I needed to start my KACE agent. I'm just going to click on the open control panel just to show here how quickly these items actually launch against a remote machine. And you have full control over these. You can create what you want. If you can script it, you can create it. You'll notice here I have, clearing print queues and things of that nature. Some of the things that happen on a regular basis from a service desk perspective. So if I know that I have these things that happen over and over again, I can create a toolbox item, or the administrator can create these toolbox items and share them out, or decide who to share them out to, so that they can then become more efficient. Enough of that. This is remote control. Remote control is pretty standard. Here, though, there's a toolbox. That's pretty cool. That sets us apart. If I go to a couple of my magic buttons up above here, you notice I have a file transfer, so I can actually move a file from my system over to the remote machine, or maybe I needed to just quickly grab a file from the remote system and bring over to my machine, I could do so quickly and easily. You notice it runs very, very fast. That was only that was a 0 meg or 0 bit file. So just grab another one just to show. I also have the ability to, from here, maybe I'm having hard drive space issues on this particular machine, and I don't know exactly what's going on. I could go ahead and run a report to see, all right, okay, so this particular profile is using about 767 meg, and I can drill down even further to see, okay, you know, the different file sizes there. Again, something that's very, very helpful from a service desk perspective when you're trying to get in and really understand what's going on in that remote system. And then I have my diagnostics. From a diagnostics perspective, I can see my real-time memory and CPU utilization information again, as well as my basic hardware information. Excuse me. On the apps tab, I have the ability to view the current running service or processes, and I have also the ability to terminate that process if necessary. I could go ahead and say, you know, continue to terminate that particular process if it becomes a problem. Maybe there's a piece of malicious code. I need to, you know, keep the process suppressed in order to remove it. Then I could go ahead and highlight that and tell it to continuously terminate that particular process. On the info tab, I have some basic information about the system. It does not, SimpleHelp does not collect the level of information that you would get within your SMA. However, what it does though is give me some quick and down and dirty information about that particular machine, and when the last rebooted, when that image was installed, you know, some of the KBs and things of that nature. If I need something at a deeper level, then, you know, I would go and take a look at my my SMA. I can see things such as, you know, service details, scheduled task details. And that's exactly what these are. These are just simply details, right? I'll skip over the customer tab for now, but we'll see it on a different scenario. From the console, I have the ability to run WMIC. I have the ability to run commands at elevated privileges. If I can run PowerShell, standard DOS commands. If I needed to run something interactively, I could do so as well. So let's say I wanted to launch Notepad or needed to launch an application against that remote system, and I'm just a command line person, and I could do so in the background. And you'll notice here it just popped up on that remote system. From a port perspective, I have the ability to redirect TCP port. So if I'm troubleshooting an application communication issue, I have the ability to redirect ports. In effect, I'm affecting the remote firewall. From a services tab, I'd have the ability to view any existing services. Let's say, for instance, my desktop authority, you know, needed updated, or you just needed to restart the service or something of that nature. I can just simply highlight it. I can change the startup mode of that service. I also have the ability to stop and start a service quickly and easily right from here. If registry surgery is my forte, then I have direct access to the registry. I can go ahead and view any existing registry key. I can manipulate that registry key. I'd also have the ability to create a new registry key in the appropriate format, or I can delete a registry key. Lastly, what I'd like to show from within this remote control window is my ability to reboot a system, but it's more than just a reboot. I can go ahead and reboot the system into safe mode and remotely manage that machine from safe mode as long as it's not connected to wireless, because obviously the wireless drivers don't load in safe mode. But if there's an Ethernet cable plugged in, I can reboot the safe mode and still manage that system from my technician console without having to get up and go down to that particular machine. Okay. Also, it's important to mention that from a reboot perspective, if I keep my window open when that system comes back online, it would just automatically reconnect to that that machine. If it happens to time out, maybe it's one of those older machines, there's a reconnect button that you could click and it will go ahead and reconnect to that session. I'm just going to minimize this for now. Some of the items that we have available here again on the main screen, and I'll just go into my toolbox here, but I'll highlight a different system. Go into my toolbox, and maybe I wanted to get my case agent configuration file information. So I could go ahead and do that based on the toolbox items that I've created. And if you reach out to us, if you want these tools, we can certainly provide them to you as samples. So you know, it's a great way to get you started. Okay. Go back here. Now, one of the things that we see against this particular machine is that the antivirus is out of date. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the actual alert. I want to see what the alert history is. So this, it seems like this particular machine has been having a problem with antivirus for quite a while. I also have the ability to see all of the machines that have triggered this particular alert. Okay. Now, if I wanted to create a new alert, I could do so very easily. So we'll go ahead and click the new alert button. And here's the scenario. We have an application that runs internally. It's a pain in the neck app, but we all have that particular application that we can't get rid of. We just have to kind of keep breathing life into it. So in this particular scenario, and we're going to call it bad.exe. Bad.exe spikes the CPU on a group of machines, and we get flooded with service desk calls because our users can't work. So we're going to put automation into the tool. I'm going to, again, call this bad.exe. I'm going to set my trigger action. And now you'll notice here I have the ability to create a trigger action based on machine resources, an actual application, files, and we're going to pop into several of these, network, or I can create a custom, maybe I have a custom script that I want to run on a schedule. I can do that from within here. Okay, so I'll choose machine resources, and you'll notice I have CPU usage. I'm just going to pop into CPU usage. It's just that simple to create this particular policy. I could just click create here. But I want to look for a particular process, so that's not the one I want. But I will pop into a few others. Here's disk space, you know, memory usage. I could take advantage of, you know, the smart technology that's in the in my hard disk to understand whether I'm having disk phase, and if I am, I can go ahead and have this trigger an alert to my case service desk. The service desk technician backs up the personality of that system, deploys, sends a new hard drive out, gets it installed, and deploys the agent from the SDA. It's that peanut butter and chocolate. I'm going to use that quite a bit. If I back up here, we'll notice applications. So I have the ability to look at a particular process. So if bad.exe consumes over 90% or more of processor for this amount of time, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen here, then I want you to trigger. So I'll go ahead and click the create button. So it creates the trigger and it creates the reset. But with this pesky application, it's not just the process that I'm concerned with, right? But if I want to take a look at like antivirus or something like that, again, very, very quick and easy. It's not just the process that I'm concerned with. There's something that happens in the event log as well. So in my application log, I generally get a warning, not necessarily an error, but I get a warning. And that warning is, you know, I just call it application bad child is the source. Okay. Maybe there's some a particular message that I want to queue off, but we'll go with that. I'll go ahead and click create again. So now you notice I have this bad.exe or this instance in the event log, but I need both of these to match. So I'll go ahead and set that to and. And if I want to ensure that I'm not going to have to deal with a lot of noise, then I can certainly increase this trigger time. We'll leave it as is for now, and I'll go ahead and click next. Now I have the ability to decide over which machines I want to alert over. Well, if I know that there's only a subset of machines that reside in Atlanta that have that particular application installed, I can just narrow that down to the Atlanta group, or I could just go ahead and say, search against all. Okay. And I'll click next. Now, this is where the magic happens. My trigger actions, I now have the ability to save this to a file. So maybe I creating a log file for some root cause analysis. Send an email. Excuse me. So in this particular case, it's going to be my case service desk, and my my subject is going to be the remote machine name triggered, and I go ahead and specify my alert name and insert. Now, I want to set some things within that case service desk. I want to set some values. So I want to say at machine equals, and we'll go ahead and add the machine name. So this sets the device within the case service desk, so I don't have to go looking for it. It'll go ahead and set it for me so that now I can just go ahead and click that play button that Richy was telling us about. I may want to go ahead and set the owner, right, equals, I don't know, admin. Maybe I also want to set, I don't know, you name it, details or what have you. I can go ahead and plug that information in. And I may also say followed by automated action. Okay. So the first action is to go ahead and send this email to my service desk. But again, I want to be more proactive. I want to take advantage of the tools. So I'll go ahead and now add, run a toolbox item. I'll pick a tool. And I'll have this this super duper Windows script that I use to basically fix everything in the environment. So I'll go ahead and select that. So I'll send an email, then I'll run this particular script, and then I click next. What do I want to do when the system is no longer in alert status? Do I want to just allow the technician to follow his processes that we've laid out in the service desk, or do I want to go ahead and notify a particular technician? So I'll go ahead and select tech. And in this particular case, Joe Wise is the person that generally looks at the tickets related to this particular issue. So I'll select Joe, so he then receives a pop-up notification within his console. And I click done. That's it. I activate the policy. It writes to the XML at the local machine is where the agent resides. When that machine triggers that alert, it sends the information up. A couple of more little quick things I'd like to show. One is history. Any machine that I've connected to will be shown in the history. I also have the ability to view. You'll notice this red dot here. It means I have a recording available for that particular machine, so I can go ahead and view that recording. I also have the ability to view that recording within the standard web browser. So here, so I could just take this link and either drop it on the user's desktop and say, hey, the next time you have this particular problem, just follow these steps, or I create my knowledge base article within the case service desk. I also like to mention that we have a mobile console as well. So I can launch into it, the mobile SimpleHelp technician console, for quick work. If I needed to connect into a particular machine, just to maybe walk a user through something, I can also see that I have a user sitting in my queue. This particular user doesn't have an agent on his machine, but he has a problem. We'll view it from the actual technician console because, obviously this is just something that you have available to you if you needed to launch into a remote control session from your phone or from your tablet. Maybe you have a Chromebook you want to, take advantage of, those types of things. You could quickly and easily help out your users. But if I, however, navigate over to my support tab, I notice that I have this, this guy sitting in my support queue. And I also collected some information from him. So he basically says that he can't get VPN to work again. Hey, can I use the SimpleHelp remote work feature? You know, it's a great use case for it. So I want to go ahead and connect to that particular system. I click the connect button, and you'll notice here it actually gives me the ability to tab these. So my previous remote control window is here. I have this one. I can break these apart if I want to, and just have them live within their own window. So let's just bring this particular one into full view. This is a remote system. There's a laptop next to me with an external monitor connected to it. So watch this. If I scroll over, I have the ability to see the other monitor as well. Or if I want to, I could take advantage of the buttons up above. I could bring a particular monitor in view. I once connected to a user who had 4 monitors, and they all populated here. It was pretty neat. I also have the same tools and capabilities available to me on an agentless remote control session. I have the ability to look at the files. I have diagnostic information as well. And if I needed my colleague, let's say I needed Victor to assist me with this particular user, I could go ahead and duplicate this user within the queue. And once I've done that, Victor would be able to, once that shows up, he'd be able to click on the connect button and launch into that remote control session as well, and we could collaborate on this particular problem. I noticed we're at the top of the hour. I'll go ahead and put a pin in it right there. I'll turn it back over to Chrystal and Zena. Thank you so very much for joining, everyone. Have a great day. Chrystal?
Thank you so very much, Antwune. I did want to make sure that I at least got to this Amazon gift card, but I did send you over some questions. So if anyone has to drop off and have a hard stop, we completely understand. Otherwise, Antwune, any moment you can give towards answering the questions I sent you in Teams, that would be great. Thank you, everyone, for your time on today's webinar. We will be reaching out to you directly, myself and Zena, about your experience during today's webinar, just with intentions to make it better or answer any questions you may have about a personal demo for your team or even pricing questions. My contact information has been provided to you in the chat. Don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you very much.
All right, so thank you for that. I do have a couple of questions. So if you guys can hang on for just a bit, I'll see if we can get those taken care of. So how does, and I take it this is SimpleHelp, how does it handle products such as deep freeze? Are there any major differences or limitations from the on-premise appliance versus the cloud-based system? So that's a great question and I've had, especially in education environments, I've had many questions or many customers reach out to me in reference to deep freeze. So deep freeze is one of those products that, for those who aren't aware, that basically locks a particular system state in place. And when you reboot the system, any changes that you've made are gone. So if you'd have the ability, once you've thawed the system, to install your SimpleHelp agent. But once you have frozen the system, if you've pushed out scripts, if you've dropped files and things of that nature, then obviously when that system reboots, it's that stuff goes away. It basically turns that machine into sort of like a thin client. But you'd still be able to remote control that system. So we would have no issue there. On-premise appliance versus cloud-based system. This could either be for the SMA or for SimpleHelp. So I'll go ahead and answer from a SimpleHelp perspective. SimpleHelp actually installs on a server, whether it's an IaaS server in your favorite cloud platform, or it's installed internally. It does, this can be virtualized. And we don't care what the underlying Hyper-V is or hypervisor is. So that goes to one of the other questions that is coming up. But there's no difference between the product. The product is the exact same install base. One thing that you may have to also account for, if you want Active Directory integration for your technician logins, then you would need to if you're installed in the cloud, you need to ensure that you have a VPN connection, at least a point-to-point from that server to the to Active Directory, so that you can have authentication. But other than that, everything works without an issue. The technician consoles will work directly over the internet with or without VPN. That won't be a problem. I just answered the next one in reference to hypervisors. We don't care what the underlying hypervisor is. We only care what the operating system is. So Linux, Windows, or Mac on your favorite hypervisor. And how does it integrate with the KMS servers? Any Wake on LAN services? So we do have Wake on LAN capabilities. Now, obviously, in order for Wake on LAN to work, this is just for everyone's knowledge, because we have varying levels of knowledge on the meeting. You know, your environment must, you know, obviously be configured to allow Wake on LAN. The operating system and BIOS must be configured to allow Wake on LAN. But you do have the ability to take advantage of Wake on LAN. You also have the ability, it was one of the pieces that we don't really go into, if you needed to set up a relay on a remote segment, you could take advantage of the KACE system to do that, as well as you have the ability to take advantage of your an agent installed on a system on a remote segment to make it a relay agent as well. And how does it integrate with KMS servers? Well, when you say KMS servers, I'm thinking about key management servers. So I'm not really sure if you know, if I'm interpreting that correctly. But there's no real integration with you know, the licensing servers, if that's the question. And if I'm not answering that correctly, by all means, please send a follow-up, or either in the chat or directly to Chrystal's email, and we'll get that answered for you. Again, I thank you so very much. If we don't have anything else to add, I will I'll go back on mute. Chrystal?
Okie dokie. Thanks so much for answering those questions. Again, please don't hesitate to respond to our correspondence. Myself or Zena will be calling or emailing you today and over the next few days. Please don't hold back on your experience in this webinar, and we'd love to hear how you think these tools will be beneficial for your team. Have a great day.